Okay, so let's move to our discussion of the 2022 CSBS National Survey of Community Banks. For those of you online, that survey is now available. It has been released. It's on our conference website. For those of you here, if you are checking in online, you can find it on the conference website as well. But we also have a kiosk just right outside the auditorium, and I would encourage you to flip through the 2022 National Survey. So this is going to be our first fully hybrid element of the conference. And so I'm going to first introduce Meredith Covington, who, among other things, leads the community banking research team here at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. She's joined by Tom Seams. You can see him up on the screen as chief economist at the Conference of State Bank Supervisors. They're both joining us virtually to present the findings. And they will be joined by Joey Samowitz, a manager in policy development at CSBS. And again, I would encourage everybody to view the full survey publication available on communitybanking.org. So Joey, if you would take over at the podium, and we will start the presentation of findings from the 2022 National Survey.
Great. Thank you, Jim, and welcome everyone. We're excited to share the 2022 results of our 9th Annual National Survey of Community Banks. As Jim said, we're joined today by Tom Seams, the CSBS Chief Economist, and Meredith Covington, the Senior Manager of Supervision Policy, Research, and Analysis at the St. Louis Fed. These two experts are going to help disseminate this year's results. I do think this year's survey is particularly noteworthy due to the shift in questions from the last few years. While we had previously focused on the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on local economies, the historic level of deposits, and its impact on bank operations, this year, we removed pandemic-related questions as American society is largely reopened. We focused instead on current banking conditions, emerging issues, including technology and inflation, product service design and offerings, and the future of community banking. To that point, it's great to be with you in person today and see so many familiar faces in the audience, many of whom we couldn't have pulled off this year's survey without. We ask that you hold questions till the end to let us get through the survey result highlights in full. And I'm going to get us started by sharing some key findings before I kick it over to our experts. And I did just want to note before we get going, we received responses from about 500 banks in 40 states. So we do have tremendous geographic diversity in our results this year. So the overview of key findings, economic conditions and net interest margins were ranked by community bankers as their top external risks. While net interest margins ranked first in importance among external risks, they were not considered more worrisome than a year ago. Cybersecurity ranked first in importance among internal risks, as well as in current and future technological challenges. Inflation was described as persistent but manageable. Community bankers expect relationship-based lending to expand more than transactional lending. The percentage of bankers who said adoption of new technology is extremely important has doubled in the past 3 years. And although cryptocurrency services are offered by only 1% of surveyed banks, bankers are equally divided on whether these services are important or unimportant. And lastly, community bankers are worrying less about competitive risks than they did a year ago, but we'll dive deeper into that one shortly. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Meredith Covington to start doing the deeper dive into these results.